All right, so you send in some research on this thing called multi-agent fine-tuning for AI.
Yeah, it's really cool stuff.
Yeah, it looks pretty wild, like using a whole bunch of AI models, almost like a society of AI to help each other learn, basically.
Yeah, yeah, like a society.
So we're going to unpack all of that, what it means, why it matters, and what's so unique about it.
Sounds good.
Okay, well, let's get right into it. I think the place to start is with the limits of AI, right? Like, we're
Right.
always hearing how impressive these large language models, LLMs, are getting.
For sure. They're already doing some pretty incredible things.
Oh, yeah, totally. Like writing different kinds of creative content, even translating languages, answering all sorts of questions. Like, it's mind-blowing.
I know, but they still hit a ceiling, right?
Right, and that ceiling is the data they've been trained on. Like, they can only be as good as the information they have to work with.
Exactly. Think of it like a really bright student stuck with only one textbook, you know?
Yeah.
Eventually they need more diverse sources and methods to keep learning and growing.
That's a great analogy. Really drives the point home. And that brings us to the whole idea of self-improvement for AI, right?
Right.
Like, can these LLMs like, generate their own study guides, so to speak, to target their weak points?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question.
And there are some methods out there, but they all seem to plateau. The improvements they make kind of taper off after a while.
Yeah, you hit that wall.
So this new multi-agent fine-tuning approach, that's what's supposed to, like, tackle that plateau head on.
Exactly. Instead of just one LLM trying to get better all alone, imagine like a whole group of them, each one specializing in different parts of a task.
Okay, so it's like a team of AI specialists all working on the same problem, almost like I don't know, a think tank or something.
Yeah, like a think tank or like a study group.
Right, a study group. I like that. But how do they actually, debate and improve each other's work?
Well, it's kind of a multi-step process.
Okay.
First, you've got these what they call generation agents.
Generation agents.
Yeah, and these are like the brainstormers, the ones coming up with the initial responses to whatever the problem is.
So they're like generating ideas.
Right, and then the critic agents step in.
Critic agents, okay.
And their job is to like evaluate and challenge those initial responses, pointing out flaws, suggesting improvements, maybe even coming up with totally new approaches.
So it's not just about, like, getting the right answer right away. It's more about exploring different ways of thinking, different lines of reasoning.
Exactly. And through that debate, back and forth, they eventually come to a much better understanding of the problem.
So they're, like, pushing each other to think more critically.
Exactly.
Gotcha. But how does that actually make them smarter? Where does the fine-tuning part come in?
Well, that's the really interesting part.
Okay.
Each LLM, it only gets fine-tuned on the data it gets right.
So, like, it focuses on what it's good at.
Yeah, like a student focusing their study time on their strongest subjects.
And then they become, like, mini experts in those areas.
Exactly. It's all about playing to their strengths.
Okay, that's fascinating. So instead of just seeing a bunch of right and wrong answers, they're, like, zeroing in on what they're already doing well.
And getting even better at it.
I bet that leads to some pretty impressive results, huh?
Oh, absolutely. The research shows it blows traditional self-improvement techniques out of the water.
Really?
Yeah, and what's even more amazing, it actually beats methods that like have the correct answers given to them beforehand.
Wait, so these AI study groups are actually figuring stuff out better than if they had a teacher just giving them all the answers.
It seems that way.
That's wild.
Yeah, it really suggests that this collaborative learning process, where they're figuring things out on their own, it leads to a way deeper, more flexible understanding.
Than just being told what's right.
Exactly.
Wow. So I'm guessing this whole specializing thing, having those different generation and critic roles, that plays a big role in this, right?
Oh, absolutely. That's what leads to the diversity in the reasoning chains.
Diversity, huh?
Yeah, it's like having different study methods in a group. It keeps everyone from getting stuck in the same old thought patterns.
That makes sense.
Prevents things from getting stale.
Right. Keeps things fresh, keeps them learning.
Right.
And that diversity seems to be the key to, like, continuous improvement.
Yeah.
Because the research shows those single agent methods where an LLM is working alone, they tend to hit that wall,
They hit a wall, they get stuck.
stuck in a rut, because their thinking gets too narrow.
Exactly.
But multi-agent fine-tuning, with all the different perspectives and specialized roles,
It prevents that stagnation, keeps the learning going.
so it's not just about making AI smarter, it's about giving it the tools to, like, keep learning and evolving on its own.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah. All right, this is all super fascinating, but I want to unpack it even further.
Yeah.
Let's dive into the specifics of how this multi-agent debate actually works, what those reasoning chains look like, and what it means for AI to apply its knowledge to completely new situations.
Sounds good to me.
So you mentioned before that the LLMs, they're only fine-tuned on the data they get right.
Right.
Can you elaborate on that a bit more? How does that actually work?
Well, with the traditional methods, you're usually fine-tuning on kind of a mix of correct and incorrect responses,
Mm-hmm.
but that can create this averaging effect,
Recovery effect.
where the model starts prioritizing responses that are kind of good enough, but not necessarily the most insightful or accurate.
So they're settling for a B when they could be getting an A plus.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, that makes sense why that would slow down progress.
Yeah, it's like holding them back.
So by only focusing on the correct responses,
Right.
it's like giving those LLMs a clear signal.
Totally. Like, this is the kind of reasoning we're looking for. Now do more of it.
Yeah, this is the good stuff. Focus on this.
Exactly.
Okay, and this focused approach, that's what lets them really specialize and get that deeper understanding, right, within their specific roles,
Exactly. It's like building a team of, experts. Uh-huh.
where everyone's bringing their A game.
Okay. Yeah.
But let's dig a little deeper into this multi-agent debate.
Yeah, I'm still a bit fuzzy on how that actually plays out. Like, what's it look like in action?
Yeah, good point.
Is it like a formal debate, with each LLM making arguments and trying to win?
Not really. It's more nuanced than a win or lose kind of thing.
Right.
The LLMs aren't really trying to defeat each other. It's more feel of it like a group of scientists,
Okay.
peer reviewing each other's work.
So they're offering constructive criticism.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Suggesting improvements, and together they're coming to a stronger conclusion.
It's a collaborative process then, with each LLM bringing its own unique perspective and expertise.
Precisely.
Okay, I'm starting to get it now. So those generation agents, they're kind of like the idea generators, right?
Yeah, they start by exploring all the different approaches to the problem,
Throwing out ideas.
coming up with those potential responses, and then the critic agents come in,
Right.
and they're like the quality control team.
That's a great analogy.
Awesome.
And just like a good quality control team, they don't just passively evaluate,
Mm-hmm.
they're actively suggesting modifications, highlighting any missing info, or even proposing totally new lines of reasoning.
Wow, so it's this back and forth between the generation and critic agents that really drives the learning process.
It's all about that dynamic interplay.
In each round of this debate, it pushes them to refine their thinking even more.
And consider all those possibilities.
Right, and through that process, those reasoning chains, they become even more diverse, more robust.
Exactly. Instead of everyone thinking in the same way
You have multiple unique approaches.
to solving that same problem.
And that's how they're able to break through those plateaus we were talking about earlier.
Precisely.
It's pretty amazing.
By embracing that diversity of thought, encouraging specialization.
Multi-agent fine-tuning allows them to reach a level of understanding that wouldn't be possible with those single-agent methods.
That's the key takeaway.
It's like unlocking a whole new level.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got these diverse, specialized LLMs all working together, constantly refining what they know. But what happens when they come across a problem they've never seen before?
That's a great question.
How do they take what they've learned and apply it to completely new situations?
Well, that's where generalization comes in.
Generalization.
The researchers, they found that these multi-agent fine-tuned models, they weren't just good at solving the problems they trained on.
They could actually take that knowledge
And transfer it to new data sets, new tasks.
So it's not just about memorizing answers.
No, it's not rote learning.
It's about understanding the process of reasoning and problem solving.
And applying it broadly.
Wow, that's a big deal.
Yeah, it has huge implications.
To the future of AI.
Imagine systems that can just continuously learn and adapt, becoming more and more versatile.
That's pretty mind-blowing. It also kind of makes you think, doesn't it? If AI can learn and adapt that well, where's the line between tool and something more independent,
Right.
Is there a risk that these AI systems, they could get, I don't know, too smart?
Too intelligent.
Yeah, too intelligent for us to control.
Well, those are the million-dollar questions, and
Yeah.
ones that researchers are really grappling with as AI keeps advancing.
Right, we can't just chase progress without
Uh-huh.
thinking about the potential consequences.
Exactly. Gotta be responsible.
For sure. But for now, let's get back to the specifics of multi-agent fine-tuning.
Okay.
We talked a lot about the importance of diversity in these, like, AI study groups.
Right, diversity is key.
Can you expand on that a bit more? Like, why is that so important?
Okay, so imagine like a human study group, right? Where everyone has the same background, the same learning style, the same way of thinking.
They'd probably all get stuck pretty quickly.
Yeah, missing key insights, failing to challenge each other's assumptions.
Like an echo chamber.
Exactly. Diversity of thought, that's what's essential for breaking out of those echo chambers and actually learning.
When you bring in different perspectives, different approaches, it enriches the whole learning environment.
Creates a much more dynamic process.
And in the context of multi-agent fine-tuning, that means ensuring each LLM, it brings something unique.
It can't just be a bunch of clones, right?
Right. They need their own specialized knowledge, their own unique reasoning styles.
That's why fine-tuning each one on a different subset of data is so crucial.
It helps them develop their own expertise.
And ensures that the whole group benefits.
It's like assembling a team of specialists.
Each one with their own area of focus.
And then they can tackle these complex problems that no one individual could solve on their own.
A perfect analogy.
Just like a well-rounded team.
A diverse group of LMs.
Is going to be way more likely to come up with creative solutions, identify blind spots, and ultimately just be more successful.
For sure. It's all about teamwork.
So this diversity, it's not just some, like, theoretical concept.
No, it's practical.
It's essential for pushing AI to its limits.
It's about ensuring that AI study group doesn't become stagnant.
It needs to be a vibrant place.
A marketplace of ideas.
Where different perspectives clash and new insights emerge.
And honestly, that principle applies to human learning too, not just AI.
That's a good point.
We all benefit from seeking out diverse perspectives, challenging our own assumptions.
And working together.
Collaboration is key.
This whole deep dive has really highlighted how much we can learn from studying AI, not just in terms of its capabilities, but also just the fundamental principles of learning.
Learning and intelligence.
You know, it really underscores the fact that as AI keeps evolving, we need to approach it with both, like enthusiasm and caution.
We need to celebrate the potential while also being mindful of the risks.
Right. Responsible development is key.
Absolutely.
And this research on multi-agent fine-tuning.
It's a perfect example of that.
It's a super promising development that could revolutionize AI.
But it raises questions, too.
Big questions.
About the future of AI and its place in our world.
Feels like we're really at a turning point with all this.
Yeah, it's an exciting time to be in this field, that's for sure.
So much we still don't know.
Exactly.
Okay, but let's bring this back to our listener for a sec. Let's say you're, not an AI researcher.
Right.
Why should you care about this whole multi-agent fine-tuning thing? Like, what's the takeaway for someone who's just trying to stay up to date with the tech world?
Well, think of it this way. Even if you're not an electrician, it's still good to understand like the basics of how electricity works.
Right.
Especially since our homes and devices, they rely on it more and more all the time.
It's like AI is becoming that electricity, that essential thing.
It's becoming that pervasive, yeah.
So it's all about being an informed citizen,
Yeah.
Of the digital age.
Exactly.
You don't need to build the tech yourself to understand how it could impact us.
Right, and knowing about these breakthroughs like multi-agent fine-tuning, it helps you make sense of all the headlines.
Cut through the noise.
Separate hype from reality.
And have those more informed conversations about what role AI is going to play in our lives.
Exactly.
I think what really blew my mind in this research was just how well this multi-agent approach works. Even beating methods that have the correct answers right there in front of them.
It's pretty remarkable.
It's like these AI study groups, they're coming up with their own better ways of learning.
It really challenges our assumptions, doesn't it?
Yeah.
About how intelligence even works.
Makes you wonder if, giving all the answers isn't always the best approach, even for AI.
There's something powerful about that struggle.
That discovery, that debate.
Yeah, it definitely makes you think about how we approach education in general.
Totally. But before we get too philosophical here,
right.
Is there anything else our listener could, check out if they want to dive deeper into this?
Well, I definitely recommend looking into emergent behavior.
Emergent behavior.
It's this fascinating concept, when you have all these simple components interacting.
Like in those multi-agent systems.
Exactly. And all of a sudden, these totally unexpected and sophisticated behaviors just pop up.
The whole becoming greater than the sum of its parts.
Precisely. And it touches on some really fundamental questions about how intelligence and complexity emerge, both in AI and, in nature itself.
That's a great point to wrap things up on.
Yeah, it's been a great discussion.
So we've reached the end of our deep dive into multi-agent fine-tuning for AI. Hopefully you've all come away with a better understanding of this groundbreaking technique, what it is, how it works, and why it matters.
Absolutely. It's definitely something to keep an eye on.
And to our listener, as always, keep exploring, keep learning, and don't be afraid to ask those big questions.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Until next time.